Caroline read nearly an entire Dr. Seuss book this morning. I'm so proud of her.
Oh, I remember when Delaney read Dr. Seuss.
She's beyond that?
Oh, we're on to chapter books now. Although Dr. Seuss books are good.
Did I say Dr. Seuss books? I meant a biography on Dr. Seuss.
She read a biography?
I don't want to brag.
Delaney would struggle with a biography in most languages.
Mommy, is this a Pepsi?
It's a Coke. C-O-K-E. Coke.
We were both wrong.
So how's Brian?
Oh, great. Yeah. Work is just picking up and it's just really busy.
Same with Paul. Even busier.
So sometimes when I'm talking to pastors, I say, hey, you know, if you speak from your weakness, you'll never run out of material. Some of you got that, yeah. So for the next 3 weeks, I'm going to speak straight out of my weakness, and that's where the whole idea of this series came from. Before we jump in, though, I want to welcome all of you who are watching online. I want to welcome Buckhead Church today. I want to welcome all of you who are our strategic partners from all over the country, all over the world, and for those of you who are joining us by television. This is a great Sunday to be watching, or a great time to be watching, because we're jumping into a brand new series called The Comparison Trap. And the way this came about is I've noticed this thing in my life, and you know, when you notice something in your life and you start working on it or looking for ways to deal with it, I thought, you know, at my age, I should be over this. I should be over my inclination to look to my left, look to my right, see what everybody else is doing, and compare myself and measure myself and determine who I am and how well I'm doing and if I'm okay based on what everybody else is doing. I mean, it's just kind of sick. And so I just started just saying, God, you know, do I ever get over this? And so then I began talking about it with some other people, and I realized I'm not the only one. So, let's see if I can explain this. As I began to compare my tendency to compare myself to other people's tendency to compare themselves to other people, I felt better about myself in comparison, which is the problem. So anyway, I decided, you know what, if everybody else is struggling with this, or if this is a common thing, we should talk about it. And I don't think I can get over my problem in 1 week. And the longer I talk about something, the more I learn. So we're going to talk about this for 3 weeks. Now, I think it began with me where it began with most of you in school. For me, I don't remember elementary school or middle school because I blanked those out, but I do remember high school. And I remember in high school, I wasn't athletic, so I hated athletes, and I wasn't smart, so I hated smart people, and I wasn't cool, so I hated cool people. So I was in a pretty small group. It was pretty much me, okay? And it wasn't that there was anything wrong with athletes, smart people, or cool people. It's just that it was easier to hate them than to look in the mirror and say, Andy, you'll never be athletic, you'll never be smart, and you'll never be cool. And I was in a very large high school, which I kept using as an excuse. Well, look how big this place is. You know, there's no way I'll ever measure up. But that was just my defense mechanism, because my natural inclination was to measure my value to the school based on what everybody else was doing. I bet you have your own story. I think that's why middle school is completely, you know, blanked out for me. Then I had a break, and I've told some of you a little bit about this. I had a break when I was in the 11th grade. I discovered that my ability to play the piano and play by ear and listen to a song and be able to play it and sing it, that was a cool thing in the 11th grade. So during lunch, I would eat my lunch quick or skip it, and I would go up on the stage in our cafeteria at Tucker High School, and I would play Elton John songs and just popular songs on the radio, and I could sing them, and girls liked that. Oh, it was awesome. And so people would come up on the stage and they'd all get around the piano and they'd throw out a song, and I could play just well enough. I could play just about anything. And all of a sudden I was somebody, and I would wear my Elton John t-shirt that I got at the Omni when I saw him in high school, you know, and snuck out and went to that concert. You remember the Omni? Let me tell you how you know you're old. You're old when you can remember them building an arena and you were around when they tore it down. And you're like, wait a minute, they just built that, didn't they? And like, no, they didn't just build that. I'm like, what are they tearing it down? They just got that thing up. Anyway, so I wear my Elton John t-shirt and play Elton John songs and Billy Joel songs, and you know, I was really cool. And so I sort of had my moment, but it was all about comparison, because I was like the best and nobody else can do this. I'm the only one up here. And then a very well-meaning adult said, Andy, God has given you this musical ability. You should use it. I'm like, all right. And he said, when you go to college, you should major in music. I thought, well, that's a great idea. And I'm sure Georgia State will just be thrilled to see me rolling in there to, share my musical ability with the people at Georgia State because, the best at Tucker High School, I'm sure, they're just waiting on me. And so I went to Georgia State University, found out they had a jazz band. I thought, well, I should try out to be a pianist in the jazz band as a freshman. And you know how we all have these memories that are sort of etched in our minds, like the whole world slows down. And even though it was years ago, you can still feel what you felt. This is one of those memories, going down to the music department, walking down the hall, and I can remember I heard him before I saw him. And I'm walking down the hall, and I'm hearing the most amazing, complex piano playing that I'd ever heard live in my life. And I thought, what in the heck is that? And I go around the corner, and here sits this kid surrounded by people around a baby grand piano, and he's just killing it. And back then, he didn't really kill it. That was whatever. I don't even remember what we said back then. But I remember standing in the doorway. I didn't even want to get close. I'm like, that's like from some other planet. This guy was so good. And I turned to the person by the door. I said, is that like a professor here? Is he like a teacher, I'm hoping? No, he's auditioning for the jazz band. And I'm like, great. So I decided I'm not majoring in music. I can't do that. So I hated him. I hated the whole department. So anyway, now, some of you are way more mature than that. You don't hate the people you compete with. But we live in a world. It's not even just the world we live in. I think it's the way we're designed. We're always looking to our left and our right, trying to figure out, how am I doing? And am I acceptable? Am I measuring up? And basically, we all want a bigger added to all the adjectives that describe us. In fact, the name of this message is the land of And this is where we all live. In other words, let me kind of flesh it out for you. We want to be richer. We want to be skinnier. We want to be smarter, taller, prettier, happier, hipper, talented, right? I just want more I want more than you, because if I have more than you, then I feel better about me, and I like you and everything. I just like to go away from lunch or go away from coffee or go home at night going, no, they're good, but I'm okay? I'm whatever they are plus some And then it's even worse, okay? Because then you start dating, and then you want your boyfriend or your girlfriend to have some right? I want him to be richer, her to be skinnier, him to be handsomer, and it's all about that. Then you get married, and you want lots of with your spouse, and the problem there is we lie to ourselves, and I'm hoping that in these 3 weeks together, if we don't do anything else, we'll quit lying to ourselves about this. We tell ourselves, well, I just want my husband or I just want my wife to reach their full potential. So we start in them. Like, you need to get a little here, a little there, a little less there, and it's really not even about them. It's about what people think about me. It's about what people think about you. And then you have kids. And then you see where everybody else's kids are going to school. And you hear about what everybody else's kids are reading and how advanced they are. And they skipped a grade. And they're playing up in sports. And then you start comparing your kids and you start your kids. And again, it's not even about your kids. And you're like, well, I want my kids to reach their full potential. No, you're comparing your kids to other kids. And it's really, you're comparing yourself to your other people. You're comparing your parenting skills to other parents. And you love it. I mean, you won't admit this. You love it when when your friends' kids mess up, don't you? You love it when they get in trouble. You love it when they don't get a scholarship. You love it when they don't get into the school of your choice. Now, you can't say that because you're Christians. You go, oh, I'm so sorry. What is that? I mean, that's just evil, isn't it? I mean, that's embarrassing. That really is evil. If you don't think there's sin in the world, just pay attention to the conversations you have with yourself, or, your feelings of elation when something bad happens to someone you care about. What is that? It's because we live in the land of We just all want a little. And then there's the other side of it. There's the people who we really do have a little more than them. And we look at them because, they're a little heavier and, they're a little slower and their son's a little slower. And I notice your daughter's a little shorter and, they're a little poorer and he's a little nerdier. And, I'm nerdy, but he's nerdier. And so I feel about, And then we have another problem. We start feeling superior. And we know we shouldn't feel that either. And so you look to the left and people are better. You look to the right, people aren't as good. You're somewhere in the middle. And either way you look, it's really just gross. And I don't have to tell you what a bad habit that is. I don't have to tell you that it doesn't take you any place, that there's really no win in all of that. But there we are. And that's just kind of how we go. Then, to keep this going, there's another group of us, sort of a subcategory. We're not happy with at all. We want est. okay? I don't want to be richer. I want to be richest. I want to be smartest. I want to be happiest. I want to be healthiest. I want to be retweetedest, okay? I want to be in a category all by myself so that when people compare themselves to me, it's like, whoa, now I'm not saying this is me. I'm just saying I've met people like this, okay? And maybe there's a slice of you and some part of you that you're all about this. And again, you lie to yourself. You say, well, I'm just reaching my full potential. I'm just going to do my best. And as we're going to see, there's a place for all of that. But there may be a thread of this other illness in you that is I know it's in me, where I'm constantly measuring myself by people around me, trying to determine, am I okay? Now, you may be way, way, way further down the road than me, and you may be way healthier than me, and maybe a minute ago when I said I hated athletes and I hated, you're like, oh, don't be a hater, you shouldn't hate, and I applaud you if you've never felt like somebody was better than you and you didn't hate them, but maybe you're on the other side of this, because you look in the mirror and you realize, you know what? It's not his fault that he's richer than me, and it's not her fault that she's prettier than me, and it's not their fault that their kids are smarter than mine. It's not really their fault. You look in the mirror and you hate you. You just don't like you. And you've gone beyond, not liking other people, but when you look in the mirror, and the reason you don't like you is because you will never be as, fill in the blank, as them. You just know you'll never measure up. You may never be that happy. You may never be that happily married. You may never have that kind of financial margin. You may never look like that, live like that, drive like that. Your kids probably aren't ever going to go to those kinds of schools. And you look in the mirror and you just, what do you do? What do you do? So the bottom line, if you don't get anything else out of the series, if you fall asleep in the next 30 seconds, and if you don't come back or you lose your electricity at home or whatever, here's what I don't want you to forget. In fact, if we all just took this one simple idea, it comes from Scripture, as we'll see in a minute, but if you took this one simple idea and you just put it somewhere on a card in a drawer on your mirror, and every time you began veering to see, oh, how am I doing compared to them, and how am I doing? If this one thought would help reset our thinking in terms of this whole conversation or this whole topic, this could be a game changer, and it's simply this. There's no win in comparison. There's no win in comparison. There's no win. There's no finish line. There's no final sense of satisfaction. There's no win. If you're better than people, that doesn't help you. If you're not measuring up to people, that doesn't help you. The whole thing, there's no win in comparison. In fact, it's really dangerous. Some of you, if you're real honest, you have debt, you have financial debt because of this thing. You have purchased things, driving things, living in things, wearing things, you've eaten things, vacationed with things, you've done things, and the only reason you did it is because you saw what other people are doing. And now you have debt because of it. It's so dangerous. Some of you, you're driving your spouse crazy. You're driving your kids crazy. I mean, you're just pushing them. And again, you lie to yourself. In fact, you even lie to them. But so much about what you're trying to get your spouse to be or not be, so much of what you're trying to get your kids to be or not be, it's so much about you. And again, it's dangerous. Some of you, there are relatives that you just don't get along with. And the reason you don't get along with them, you're just jealous. You'll never look like that. You'll never drive that. You'll never live that. That way you'll never have that. You'll never be that happy. Your first marriage didn't go well. You don't get to have another first marriage. And they're still in their first marriage and they're doing fine. And after a while, you find yourself rejoicing over their failures, their small failures, and you know that's evil and you know it's embarrassing. But this thing, it's not just a casual thing. It's a dangerous thing. You know how far it can go?